Okay, so now I went to the fourth quadrant, doing one in the fourth quadrant. Okay, so this time I gave you the long side. I said the long side is 2, and I gave you the coordinate P here, and I gave you the y value -1, but I didn't give you the x value. Okay, so if I now say determine sine 330, you're going to say, okay, sine 330 has to be opposite over hypotenuse, and the opposite side is the y. Okay, it's this part, it's y. So this part is -1, so it's going to be easy, -1/2. Okay, sine 330 is -1/2. Now can you see, let's look at that first. Can you see that sine 330 is the same as sine 30? Except for the negative. Because what is sine 30? If you check on the calculator, sine 30 is a half. So except for the negative, sine 30 and sine 330 are actually the same. Okay, in the first quadrant, if you put in the first 1/2, 30 degrees, 1/2, it's a half. But now it's -1/2. So that's why we say, I'm just going to focus on this one first. That's why we say sine 330. Okay, we're going to talk more about this later. But you can say sine 330 is the same as sine 360 minus 30. Okay, think about it. Just think about it quickly, because we're going to talk more about this thing. Obviously, sine 330 is the same as sine 360 minus 30. Okay, because sine 360 minus 30 is the same. It's 330. But now, what did we learn about sine 360 minus theta? If you go back to what we learned the other day, if I say sine 360 minus theta, you can say, okay, well, 360 minus theta is the fourth quadrant. Okay? And what is sine in the fourth quadrant? It's negative. So you remember we said, so that means that sine 360 minus theta is equal to negative sine theta. That's what we learned yesterday. Okay, sine 360 minus theta is equal to negative sine theta, because 360 minus theta is the fourth quadrant, and we know that sine in the fourth quadrant is negative. So that means we can say, if sine 330 is sine 360 minus 30, think about it. What is sine 360 minus theta? Negative sine theta. So what is sine 360 minus 30? It is negative sine 30. You see, instead of putting in a theta, you can put in 30 or 20 or 10 or anything. Okay, any angle then. Okay, so the only thing is we just change it to a negative, because we know it's negative. And so we know that sine 30 is a half, so that means negative, that means it's going to be -1/2. So sine 330 is -1/2. And here we can see it. Okay, here we can see it on the sketch. We can see that. Okay, so I just wanted to explain this part that you guys can see where it comes from.
Is that important?
Yes, this is important. We're going to talk more about this again. Okay, the important thing to remember is the cost. C-A-S-T. Cost is positive here. So sine is negative. So if I'm talking about sine 360 minus theta, this is the fourth quadrant, and then sine has to be negative. So when I want to simplify this, I have to make it negative sine theta. Because obviously, if you look at 330, that's the thing. If you look at 330, it's the same as looking at 30. Because if this part is 330, then how big is this angle here?
30.
It's 30. So if I say sine 330, sine 330, it's the same as saying sine 30, but the only difference is it's negative, because I'm not in the first quadrant where sine 30 is, I'm in the fourth quadrant where sine is negative.
Should it always add up to 360?
Yes, it has to, because you want to go all the way around. You can only go all the way around. You can't go more than around if you want to do a revolution. Okay, so now let's just quickly look at what would cos 330 then be. Cos 330. So if I go all the way around, cos 330 is adjacent of hypotenuse. So now I first need to get that side there. So now I can say to get this side, I have to say x squared. The short side squared is equal to the long side, 2 squared, minus the short side, negative 1 squared. So then x would be 4 minus 1 is 3. So x would be the square root of 3. So this part here is the square root of 3. Using Pythagoras, which means cos 330 would be adjacent over hypotenuse, square root of 3 over 2. And as you can see, it's positive because in the fourth quadrant, cos is positive. Okay, and then you can obviously get tan 330 as well. It's going to be adjacent over hypotenuse, negative 1 over square root of 3.